Cebu holds great potential in sports. New venue for 6 Special Olympic Games. The memorialization of RENTAP. Those are the headlines for tonight. I'm Lorenzo Isaac and this is TVS Nightline. Growing development presence in thriving economic activities of Cebu is evidenced by the number of big players setting foot in the area in the past decades, transforming Cebu into a satellite town. Many new developments are focused on Cebu, with new roads and highways built over the years, providing easier access to the bustling town. Cebu is already developing rapidly with the construction of new commercial and other infrastructure facilities. The latest sports center facilities established in the Cebu Jaya is in tandem with the state sports development, with emphasis on producing and developing new talents to compete at both domestic and international levels.
Sudah tentu stadium ini akan menjadi kemudahan untuk kita melatih para atlet kita, para sukan kita, supaya mereka bukan saja jago Cebu Jaya, tetapi jago dunia seperti Pandela. Dan kita di Sarawak banyak juga potensi di dalam arena sukan ini. Dan saya yakin dengan kemudahan yang ada di Cebu Jaya ini, ia dapat menambah lagi para atlet kita yang boleh berlatih di Cebu Jaya dan akhirnya dengan coach yang baik boleh menjadi atlet peringkat dunia insya-Allah.
Abang Johari said this in his opening speech at the launching ceremony of the Azman Hashim Community Sports Center in Cebu Jaya on Friday, July 1st. The Azman Hashim Community Sports Center would have a football field and an outdoor 8-lane athletic track, complete with comfortable covered seatings for spectators. The track would be made of IAF-certified Herculean rubberized track system, paved on a suspended slab. The sports centers would host regional meets, including the ASEAN-level international competitions. Meanwhile, the Special Olympics targeted the participation of 350 to 400 athletes and unified partners, with 300 official and volunteers, and among the sports included are bowling, badminton, bocce, swimming, table tennis, and track and field events.
A healthy nation is always a wealthy nation. Therefore, it is necessary to put emphasis on a sports center. The Azman Hashim Community Sports Center in Cebu Jaya was officially launched by the Premier of Sarawak, Dato' Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg, on Friday, July 1st. As such, the 6 Special Olympic State Games will be tentatively held from July 1st to 3rd at the newly established Sports Center. Chairman of Corp Group, Tan Sri Azman Hashim, said that with the availability of the sports center, promoting a healthy lifestyle of all walks of life in Cebu.
With this community sports center, we are hopeful that more sporting events will be brought to Cebu Jaya, be it intercity, interstate, or perhaps even national level meets. This will encourage more economic activities within our township for economic growth. We also hope that along the way, many sports talents will be discovered and developed within Cebu Jaya itself.
He said this in his speech at the launching ceremony of the Azman Hashim Community Sports Center in Cebu Jaya. The new center, new talents such as the likes of the Malaysian diving queen Dato' Pandalela Rinong, Malaysian sprinter Watson Nyambek, and Malaysian Paralympian weightlifting Boni Bui Augustin could be unearthed. The Osman Hashim Community Sports Center would have a football field and an outdoor 8-lane athletic track, complete with comfortable covered seatings for spectators. The track would be made of IAAF-certified Herculean rubber-sized track system paved on a suspended slab. The sports centers would host regional meets including the ASEAN-level international competitions.
A memorial statue of RENTAP and a replica of his Bujang Timpang Berang Canyon, used during the reign of the White Raja James Brooke, will be featured at the RENTAP Fortress. The Iban Warrior Fortress will be built at its original site, Bukit Sadok in Betong. Deputy Premier of Sarawak, Dato' Amar Douglas Ukahambas, said the state government had agreed to the project, which would enhance the division's tourism sector.
A traditional longhouse will also be featured within the fort and a gallery to display weapons used in the 19th century. Uga said the fort would attract visitors to Betong, which are accessible through 3 routes: Pan-Borneo Highway, Second Trunk Road, and Babuling Stolport Short Takeoff and Landing Airport. He also said the state government had formed the Betong Integrated Development Agency BIDA with a budget of 1.5 billion ringgit to spur growth in the area. BIDA covers Layar, Bukit Saban, Saribas, Krian, Kabong, Kalaka, Beting Maro, and part of the Lingga.
Consumer demand for poultry has continued to rise nationwide despite higher prices. The latest retail price has been capped between 9 ringgit and 80 cents and 12 ringgit and 90 cents per kilogram, depending on the districts in Sarawak, effective July 1st to August 31st, hitting record high level in terms of pricing, with prices foreseen to increase. Consumers are not showing sign to trade down when deciding on their protein.
Limbang and Lawas will pay the most at 12 ringgit and 90 cents per kilogram for the birds. According to the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs KPD and HEP, Kapit, Bukit Mabong, Song and Belaga at 11 ringgit and 40 cents, whereas Sri Aman, Saratok, Betong and Lubo Antu, the price are set at 10 ringgit and 50 cents. Meanwhile, the standard chicken are capped at 9 ringgit and 80 cents for most areas. For super chicken, retail prices in Sarawak are in the range of 10 ringgit and 80 cents to 13 ringgit and 90 cents per kilogram, while live chickens ranging between 6 ringgit and 80 cents and 8 ringgit and 60 cents per kilogram. Earlier, Agriculture and Food Industry Minister Dato' Sri Dr. Ronald Kiandi said the government had allocated a subsidy of 369.5 million ringgit for chicken and chicken eggs, bringing the total amount spent on subsidies to 1.1 billion ringgit since February 5th. He said the increase in prices of goods is an issue that is not just happening in Malaysia, but is a global phenomenon due to the supply chain disruption triggered by geopolitical conflict and climate change.
The ceiling price for standard chicken in Sarawak has been set at 9 ringgit and 80 cents per kilogram. The price is slightly cheaper compared to other parts of Malaysia. To name a few, 9 ringgit and 90 cents in Langkawi, 11 ringgit per kilogram for the west coast of Sabah, while the east coast of Sabah and Labuan was set at 11 ringgit and 30 cents.
On the other hand, the price of chicken eggs in Sarawak as well as Sabah and Labuan was set at 43 to 50 cents per egg, depending on the grade. In Langkawi, the price of grade A chicken eggs is set at 45 cents each, grade B at 43 cents each, and grade C at 41 cents each. Minister of Agriculture and Food Industry Dato' Sri Ronald Kiandi said the government has allocated 369.5 million ringgit to implement the new ceiling price of chicken and eggs in several states. The accumulated total for subsidies of chicken and eggs now stands at 1.1 billion ringgit since last February 5th. All announced ceiling price for chicken and eggs are effective July 1st for a period of 2 months. In the meantime, the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs (KPD) and HEP will continue to ensure adequate supply of chickens for the public by mobilizing 2,200 KPD and HEP enforcement officers nationwide. As of 31st May 2022, 80,179 inspections have been carried out at premises selling chickens and eggs, which witnessed compliance exceeding 99%, with only 121 breaching cases recorded.
Coming up right after the break, undeniable devotion. Mexican mayor waits alligator to secure abundance. Right here on TVS Nightline. Stay tuned. Welcome back. A total of 386 clusters amounting to 1,900 cases of hand, foot and mouth disease were reported in the last 6 weeks in Sarawak. Deputy Premier Datuk Seri Dr. Sim Kui Hian noted in his Facebook posting that cases were mostly concentrated at homes, schools, preschools and kindergartens.
For the last 6 weeks, there has been epidemic outbreak of hand, foot and mouth disease in Sarawak. For the last 2 weeks, there are 900 cases a week before and 1,000 cases last week.
At the same time, Dr. Sim urged the people to instill good hygiene at home, school, preschool and kindergarten where they are children. He also reminded parents to monitor their children's health and bring them to the nearest clinic or hospital if they display signs or symptoms of the infection.
Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia (SPM) is the penultimate examination that creates a pathway for all school leavers, whether into further education or employment. However, an issue was faced by a student from Bintulu, Raden Zul Iskandar Raden Bustari, an 18-year-old, who was given a T grade, which is considered as absent even though he sat for the examination. The issue was then solved by his mother, who fought vigorously for her son's future education. According to the mother, Dayang Raudiah Awang Mahmud, the issue was finally solved by the Malaysian Examination Board (LPM). Her son was a former student at a private institutional, Tvs Bintulu.
Ujian naknya akan diangkut oleh van daripada institut lah, sebab tidaknya ada 11 orang juga dalam institut yang menduduki peperiksaan SPM.TEC. Jadi tidaknya setiap kali yang hantar pergi sekolah, memang cikgu tidak akan update dalam grup WhatsApp family lah. Tidaknya Tok dah dihantar, dah diambil balik. Dan bila ada lisan dia dihantar, diambil balik. So there's no such thing that si datang dan si hadir lah.
Dayang posted on Facebook regarding the matter and lodged a police report after a month of no feedback. She said her son was at first optimistic. However, he missed out on applying for public universities after not receiving his SPM result within the time frame set. Dayang received help from several parties, including her son's teacher, to obtain the certificate.
Daripada kejadian tadi, bila kami madah dengan mesej kami dengan cikgunya pun dah nerima daripada anak kami yang jawapan kali kedua ini si hadir juga etik. Dia pun terus berhubung kepada pegawai unit peperiksaan. Lepasnya pegawai unit peperiksaan tu buat tantahan semula dengan dekat sidak kementerian lah.
Once the issue was highlighted, Raden received an email to get his new SPM slip at school. Raden scored excellent results with 3 A's and 2 B's. With his certificate, Raden pointed out that he is keen on pursuing law at the International Islamic University Malaysia, Selangor.
Advice parents lah, kalau berlaku benda-benda yang agak luar biasa macam tu, kita sebagai parents, kita boleh just tunggu aja. Udah kita nak pergi rujuk dengan orang yang tertentu, lepas tu kita tunggu je, kita sit fight. So macam kami call pergi Lembaga Peperiksaan Malaysia, kami call pergi UPU, semua tempat kami call just to get more info and then coba cari jalan penyelesaian.
Dayang suggested that MOE should re-evaluate the system of marking exam papers similar to the ones before it was changed to online. She calls upon parents who are residing in rural areas to have an awareness of how to secure their children's future through the relevant agencies. Now on to some global affairs. Indonesian President Joko Widodo had offered to serve as a communication bridge for the leaders of Ukraine and Russia in a bid to boost hopes for peace between the two nations. Widodo, who is the current G20 president, spoke at a news conference with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin after a meeting in Moscow on Thursday, saying that Indonesia wanted to see the end of the conflict so that food supply, fertilizer and energy supply chains will be fixed soon. Widodo had met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Wednesday, June 29, after attending the G7 summit in Germany earlier in the week. After their meeting, Widodo offered to deliver a message from Kiev to Putin, but it was not immediately clear how Zelensky responded to the offer.
Sebagaimana yang saya sampaikan di Kiev, walaupun situasi saat ini masih sangat sulit, namun saya tetap menyampaikan bahwa penyelesaian damai penting untuk terus dikedepankan dan juga ruang-ruang dialog terus bisa dibuka. Saya telah menyampaikan pesan Presiden Zelensky untuk Presiden Putin dan saya sampaikan kesiapan saya untuk menjadi jembatan komunikasi antara kedua pemimpin. Bahwa isu perdamaian dan kemanusiaan selalu menjadi prioritas politik luar negeri Indonesia. Konstitusi Indonesia mengamanatkan agar Indonesia selalu berusaha berkontribusi bagi terciptanya perdamaian dunia. Dalam konteks inilah saya melakukan kunjungan ke Kiev dan ke
Russia's war in Ukraine has exacerbated a global food crisis, sending prices soaring for grains, cooking oils, fuel, and fertilizer.
Dapat saya sampaikan bahwa Indonesia tidak memiliki kepentingan apapun kecuali ingin melihat perang dapat segera selesai dan rantai pasok pangan, pupuk, energi dapat segera diperbaiki karena ini menyangkut kehidupan ratusan juta orang bahkan miliaran manusia. Saya mengajak seluruh pemimpin dunia untuk bekerja sama kembali menghidupkan semangat multilateralisme, semangat damai dan semangat kerjasama. Hanya dengan spirit itulah perdamaian dapat dicapai.
In regard to Indonesia's demand for fertilizers, Russian President Vladimir Putin said they are ready to fulfill the demand. He added that Russian suppliers will fully meet the needs of farmers in Indonesia and other friendly countries.
Точно так же готовы в полной мере удовлетворить спрос аграриев из Индонезии и других дружественных государств, азотные, фосфатные, калийные удобрения и сырье этой продукции. И мы, безусловно, намерены и далее добросовестно исполнять свои контрактные обязательства по поставке продовольствия, удобрений, а также энергоносителей и других критических.
Putin earlier denied that Moscow was blocking Ukrainian grain exports and questioned the impact of missing Ukrainian agricultural goods on the world food market. Chinese President Xi Jinping swore in Hong Kong's new leader on Friday, July 1st, in a ceremony marking the 25th anniversary of the former British colony returns to China.
本人李家超谨此宣誓，本人就任中华人民共和国香港特别行政区行政长官，定当拥护中华人民共和国香港特别行政区基本法，效忠中华人民共和国香港特别行政区。 尽忠职守，遵守法律，廉洁奉公，为香港特别行政区服务，对中华人民共和国中央人民政府和香港特别行政区负责。
Former Hong Kong Security Chief John Lee, who is sanctioned by the United States over his role in implementing the new national security law, takes charge at a time when the global financial hub is facing an exodus of people and talent amid some of the toughest COVID-19 restrictions in the world. Lee said in a speech that emphasizing that national security law is beneficial for citizens. The Chinese president's trip to Hong Kong is the first since 2017, when he swore in the city's first female leader, Carrie Lam, who oversaw some of the territory's most tumultuous times, marked by anti-government protests in 2019 and the COVID epidemic. Britain returned Hong Kong to Chinese rule on July 1, 1997, under a one-country, two-systems formula which guarantees wide-ranging autonomy and judicial independence not seen in mainland China. Critics of the government, including Western nations, accuse authorities of trampling on those freedoms which Beijing and Hong Kong reject.
A small-town Mexican mayor married his alligator bride on Thursday, June 30th, in a colorful ceremony as the traditional music rang out and revelers danced while imploring the indigenous leader to seal the nuptials with a kiss.
San Pedro Huamelula Mayor Victor Hugo Sosa obliged more than once during Thursday's wedding, bending down to plant his lips on the small alligator snout, which had been tied shut, presumably to avoid unwanted biting. The ritual marriage likely dates back centuries to pre-Hispanic times among the communities, like a prayer pleading for nature's bounty.
Debemos estar pues presentables para recibir a mi futura esposa. De colores porque es así como los turcos también tienen diversidades de colores. Tenemos que cumplir con ciertos requisitos, pedirle a la naturaleza que no nos falten las lluvias, que no nos falten los alimentos, que haya peces en el río, que las cosas se pidan con ese amor para que Huamelula no sufra, no tenga estas consecuencias.
The state, located in Mexico's poor south, is arguably the country's richest indigenous culture and home to many groups that have stubbornly maintained their languages and traditions. The age-old ritual in San Pedro Huamelula, now mixed with Catholic spirituality, involves dressing the alligator in a white wedding dress plus other colorful garments. The 7-year-old reptile, referred to as a little princess, is believed to be a deity representing Mother Earth, and her marriage to the local leader symbolizes the joining of humans with the divine. As trumpets blared and drums provided a festive beat, locals carried the alligator bride in their arms through village streets as men fanned it with their hats.
Desde el primer día que me eligió el capitán para ser la madrina, estuve pensando en qué es lo que le iba a poner, cómo la iba yo a vestir, ya que es la fiesta más importante de nosotros, los chontales, y la verdad pues es un privilegio el poder ser la madrina y creo que pocas personas pueden serlo, entonces me da mucha alegría, mucho orgullo de mis raíces y de esta tradición que...
She said that she feels privileged to be entrusted with carrying out the ceremony and noted she spent a lot of time fretting over what the bride would wear.
Learn the secret to a healthy soil in gardening with the founder of N Green, Nasmi Mazan Haji Narawi, and Science, Technology, Engineering and Mathematics STEM subjects with McClifton, Tembak Sinau on Sejahtera Asia tomorrow, 7:30 a.m. on TVS Astro Channel 122 and My Freeview. See the world closer with TVS as we bring you the latest news updates both locally and internationally. Just a click away by heading on to our official website at www.tvstvmy or follow us on our social media platforms. That's all the time we have for TVS Nightline. I'm Lorenzo Isaac. Thank you for watching.